Right, we'll get going. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this session. I'm Andrew Campbell-Edie. I'm the Head of Communications and Events at the Irish Centre for Diversity. We recently held the National Diversity and Inclusion Awards to recognise and celebrate the valuable work being done to progress diversity and inclusion in Ireland's workplaces. This webinar series has been devised to share the insights and experiences from the sponsor, the winner, and finalists so that any learnings can be applied to your organisation or to help with entering the next award cycle. This session today focuses on the category Diversity and Inclusion Leader / Emerging Leader. This category was kindly sponsored by AIB, and the category recognises the organisations that are really leading the charge when it comes to diversity inclusion and can demonstrate that they have this vital area at the heart of their business. A few words about our sponsor before I hand over to them. AIB is one of Ireland's major retail banks serving personal, business and corporate customers. They hold prestigious Investors in Diversity Gold, and they have kindly sponsored this award since the very beginning. Some housekeeping. I'll shortly hand over to the award sponsor, and then we'll hear from the award finalists to end with the award winners wrapping up in about an hour. Automatic closed captions are available with the Teams controls, and I believe Kira behind the scenes will be popping a message into the chat function to help you access those if you need them. The session's being recorded and will be available on the Irish Centre for Diversity website, which is irishcentreforddiversity.ie or simply icfd.ie. Everyone is muted except the panel. Please share any comments in the chat function. We'd love to hear which organisations you're joining us from today. There isn't time for Q&As, but you are welcome to link with any of the panelists today on LinkedIn and pose your questions or any questions you may have to them directly. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to introduce our host for today's session, Aoife Mulqueen, who's the Group Diversity and Inclusion Lead at AIB. She'll start by shining a light on her organization's diversity inclusion advances, and will lead what is sure to be an enlightening conversation. One word before we start, it's important to mention that AIB, like Irish Centre Diversity and the other sponsors, had no part in the judging process and couldn't enter themselves. Over to you, Aoife.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew. Hello, everyone. You're very welcome. And I don't know if it's rainy with you, but it's certainly rainy with me here. So I hope you're staying dry out there. So as Andrew said, my name is Aoife Mulqueen. I'm from AIB. I'm the group IND is what we call it here, diversity lead. So I'll tell you a little bit about AIB, a little bit about why we sponsored this award. And then we're going to get going into meeting each one of the nominees, including our winners at the end as well. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I'm excited to hear about everything that people have kind of going on in their world. As I said, with AIB, we have a inclusion and diversity strategy that is, our current one is all the way up to 2027. And it's kind of a two-pronged approach where firstly, we want to foster universal inclusion. And you'll hear that term universal inclusion maybe a few times because that is kind of our tagline that we use around the business, including during a campaign that we run annually called our Universal Inclusion campaign that happens in June every year. And the purpose around fostering universal inclusion is really around enabling that inclusivity around the organisation from all of our different aspects. Like key parts of that are things like our 5 EORGs or employee networks that we have kind of in the organisation and supporting them. But our other goal from our strategy is around really driving diversity impact. And that looks like, you know, how we kind of will look at our policies from a HR perspective, how we act when we're with each other together, and what impact that has. And I think this is slightly a little bit unusual, like at least for companies that I've worked for or come across, in that we not only like look inward at our population, but we look outward into our communities as well. And one of the things I'm really proud of that is we sponsor a program with TU Dublin, which we work with actually Jan, who we'll be speaking with later on, in Open Doors, to sponsor, or we sponsor this program for entrepreneurship for people with disabilities. So that's a real way that we're driving social impact. And then one of the things that I'm personally working on at the moment and really pushing forward in the organisation is around placements and how can we bring people in from diverse sources of talent, like from people who have disadvantaged backgrounds, people from maybe migrant backgrounds, people from like disabled backgrounds, and bring them into like very targetedly bring them into the organization so that eventually it just becomes part of who we are and part of our process of hiring. So that is just a really quick step inside of our there's lots more that I could say, but sure, we'll be here for a while, so let's move on. Why we look at the this award, the emerging, like the D&I leader emerging leader award, and I'm sure if from your own kind of experiences as well, like this is such an important award, because when we look at, you know, like anyone who has passion for this area or is really interested in this area knows that there's a million things that you could be doing, and it's something that we have to be really directive with our networks about and our own selves about as well, is ensuring that actually we can't boil the ocean. We have to be really targeted about what we do, and that's how we can really drive impact in our work, is ensuring that we're not trying to do everything. We're trying to do as much as we can do, but in really specific ways as well. So I think, and that is something that you need your leaders for, and leaders really help us to drive that impact. Lots of people have good intention, but leading really helps us to win that impact that we want in what we're doing. And like we all know, without like leadership as well, you know, things just don't like get done. What's measured is managed. Somebody kind of told me once that I've never forgotten. So that is why we're a sponsor of this category. And I'm so excited to meet all of our nominees today. So without further ado, I'm just going to get right into it. Our first person that we are speaking to today, unfortunately, was unable to join us, and that is Linda Allen from Bus Éireann. I'm a big bus fan, so I'm a little bit disappointed, but you know, I'm sure we can all connect with Linda on LinkedIn and find out more about her. But I just wanted to acknowledge her achievement in being shortlisted in this category by reading out some of the judges' comments, which are: you impress the judges by showing that inclusion grows through persistence, patience, and quiet leadership coupled with a keen vision. So like that's a fantastic comment to receive. So congratulations to Linda. Unfortunately, there's one other person that was unable to join us, which is Roisin Shanahan. Unless somebody's going to tell me that she's been able to join in the meantime, I don't think she has been. So I'm just going to go ahead and read out some of her comments from judges as well. Roisin Shanahan is from the South East Technological University, and the judges said that her leadership moved inclusion from compliance to transformation in higher education, and this has really landed with the judges. So like that again, like how hard is it to kind of go from compliance to complete transformation? So amazing things that are out of Roisin as well. So having gone through our first two who were unable to join us, I'm now moving over to Angela. Now, Angela was having some issues with her camera earlier on, so I'm hoping we'll be able to speak with Angela with no issues. I think she's there. There you are. I can see you now. Brilliant. Angela Mojeku is from Gentle Hands, and she is a finalist for this category of IND leader or D&I leader / emerging leader. So the judges say that you were embedding inclusion into a daily practice in care in the care of the most vulnerable, and they remarked that you succeeded in balancing strategy with personal connection. So Angela, it's great to meet you. Please, can you tell us a bit about if there was a moment in 2025 that really reinforced the belief that small, thoughtful actions can create big cultural change? Over to you, Angela.
Angela, you're on
Thank you
mute.
so much, Aoife. Yeah, I just took it off. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for that. I've been having terrible network issues because, as I told you the last time, I'm working from abroad and the network hasn't been the best. But I'm going to try as much as possible to, answer your question. And I hope the network is great and everybody can hear me. Yeah, so thank you for that question. Thanks for that question, right? There were loads of moments in 2025 for gentle hands-on care where those beliefs around diversity and inclusion was really reinforced. But I'm just going to give you a case-specific moment, which I can say it's kind of like the redefining moment for gentle hands-on care, right? So it was with one of our clients from an ethnic minority group or family, right, who had expressed concerns around his cultural preferences around personal care not fully being understood and respected. Okay. Now, as a company, instead of us to deal with this as a one-off issue, we firstly listened to the client, understanding his concerns, and incorporating all our findings into his personal care plan. Okay. Now, a simple but very, very impactful thing that we did as a company was we got our carers. We started a kind of a session, a cultural awareness session with our carers, the team of carers. So what we do is we encourage them to kind of ask open questions. We got them to share like their experiences, some insights around what the clients, want. And also as a company, we embedded and put all this into the care plan of these clients. Okay. Now, a very good impact or a very actionable impact, that was achieved from this was that the client reported back to us that he felt heard, he felt respected, he felt valued, and he felt that his preferences has been incorporated into his daily care planning, which kind of rebuilt that trust, right? Now, on the carer side, we found out that these sessions really helped our carers with being more confident in carrying out care for these clients. So they carried out a more inclusive and personalized care as a result of, the whole workshop around cultural awareness, the whole sessions that we had with them. So we kind of achieved two things from this specific incident. Thank you very much.
That's really interesting, Angela. Like, I love that we all kind of work around the same area, yet all of the different things that we like, all of the different things that we learn, and like all of the different insights that we can gain are so interesting between all of those different things. Thank you so much, Angela. That's
No
really
worries.
inspiring. um,
Thanks.
okay,
Thank
so I'm
you
going to
so
move
much. Yeah.
on to our next person. So that is our next finalist, who is Soraya Power from the ICE Group. The judges praised your use of creativity and celebration to make inclusion visible and tangible at ICE Group. Which initiative, Soraya, taught you the most about how people truly experience belonging? Oh, you're on mute, Soraya.
Sorry. Hi everyone. Thank you so much, Aoife, for your question. My name is Soraya and I'm the success manager as part of the contracted training team in ICE Group. So Before I answer your question, just to understand a little bit about what we do, the story will make more sense then. So we're contracted to do all different types of training, public sector and private sector all around Ireland. So with that and bringing, any type of training, we're trying to incorporate diversity and inclusion into it. So what we've done in the last year is we've started training our own tutors to create an inclusive classroom. Okay, so then that can transfer whatever the learners are that's sitting in front of them, whether it's going into a corporate business or it's up in Ballina or Carrick and Shannon teaching a group of learners that's come through an ETB there. Recently, as everyone knows in Ireland, we've had a massive influx of immigrants coming in, and we've been so grateful to be part of training those people to speak English, right? So what that's doing is really empowering them to be able to communicate in their new home. So sense of belonging there is definitely, at the heart of everything that we do for them. What we've seen through those programs is people come, and some of these people are coming from the likes of Ukraine, and they're highly skilled people, but they can't get work here in their field. So with giving them the language to speak, we've seen them progress up through level 4 and then maybe move into the healthcare and become nurses. And then all of a sudden, the rest of their family is able to come over, and after a few months, they're able to call Ireland home and they're able to belong here. It's only possible because the people that's contracting us to do the training is contracting us to do it. But by training our tutors and giving them the confidence, they have those difficult conversations and really equipping them with everything they need to make the classroom as inclusive as possible, whether it's bringing accessibility to it or training them how to speak more clearly and how to communicate with people that might not be able to hear you, whatever it is. And it's working, and we can see the difference in it from the learners, but also in the tutors, all the trainers that we have, they love it. And it's the most contagious space that you can be in because they're going off and bringing it outside of work as well. Whether it's meeting somebody on the train or the bus, it really is an amazing space. So grateful to be in it, grateful to be able to spread in it, and grateful for the reach that we have all throughout Ireland. Like at Ice Group, I think Aoife, you were mentioning the AIB slogan. So at Ice Group, ours is "We Change Lives." So I work in the training business unit, but we've also got recruitment. For example, so we've got the opportunity to train people, equip them, get them skilled, to get them certificates, and then bring them over to the recruitment team if there's open positions, whether it's driving a forklift up in a warehouse, or as I said, in the healthcare field, we can do that. So we're very proud that we can bring the belonging to so many people in Ireland. And yeah, can't wait to see what's next.
That's amazing, Soraya. Like, wow, that's like, God, what an apt kind of slogan or tagline you have there. Like, it's really changing people's lives. That's amazing. Congratulations. Like, that's fabulous.
Yeah, I've got amazing teams, and like our leadership team is so supportive of this space. Like, whenever I started on this journey with inclusion and diversity with them, like they bought into it so quickly. I was like,
Yeah,
well, yeah, let's do it. And because of that, every business unit is now supporting it. So it's not just me definitely leading the space, but the whole leadership team's behind me and backing me on it. So
that's it.
yeah.
Like, that's so important as well. Like, so, wow, congratulations. That's brilliant, Soraya. Like, I'd love to hear more. So, we might catch up at another time as well. But
Yeah, for
thanks a
sure.
million. That was
Thank
fab.
you so much,
Cheers.
Aoife.
Thanks. Okay, so on to our fourth finalist. So that is Jan McDonough of Open Doors Initiative. So you've built ODI into, or that's the Open Doors Initiative, into a movement that combines corporate social justice with inclusion, and your credibility and courage is admired widely, a fact that was commented on by the judges. So hello, Jan, how are you doing? Good to see you again. Looking back on your career in recent years, what have you learned about the power of persistence and advocacy?
Well, to address persistence, I only started Open Doors 7.5 years ago. And before that, I had absolutely no experience in building a business or managing people or speaking publicly. So I learned a lot on the trot, but I was very lucky to have great mentors and really supportive leaders. My boss in Diageo at the time, Liam Reid, said, "You're doing it." Everything was the side of the desk, but he was going, "You're doing it, so go and do it." And that was really great encouragement, and they've supported us all the way and still do to this day. And social value impact was something I always loved. I get very exercised about events going on in the world, especially with migration, for example, at the moment, and what's happening in the US. And advocacy is central to everything we do in Open Doors. We very much feel you can't have a platform and not use it to help people. Otherwise, what's the point? Why are you bothering? And I very much feel it's a moral obligation to fight injustice, and very practically, not just clicks on social media or painting walls blue. You have to get out there and do it. And I think, for example, with government, it's not a political act, it's a human act. And they need to be held accountable for the decisions they make in our name. And it's very important. A lot of NGOs get funding from government, and I think that gives them a fear of not tackling them. And I think it is absolutely an imperative, if something is being done wrong, that you stand up and say it. And, there may be consequences, but then it's not the right decision anyway. And it's not being done from a good place. With business and corporate social justice, as you mentioned, it's key to hearing corporates and their voice against wrong and how they work to right it. And it's really necessary, I'd say, to every business on the call to support work for a better society. It's not just about what your own bottom line is or whatever. It's really necessary to look outside that to all your stakeholders, your employees, your board, the people in the local community, wider society, and say, what can we do to improve the society we're in? I think that's essential. And to steal your phrase, Aoife, we boil the ocean regularly. We don't step back. We're generalists. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would prefer if I use the door handle rather than kicking the door sometimes. But you have to do what you have to do. And I think that's really key to our work and the understanding of Open Doors. We are a campaigning advocacy group who works with corporates to ensure better practice and to help our participants, which is our goal at the end of the day, and wider society.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself there. I almost forgot because I was leaning in so much to listen to every word. So that's what happened to the Open Door. Jan kicked it off its hinges. So that's, but absolutely. So like inspiring, Jan, right behind you, in how we need to kind of, I suppose some of the challenges are that you get, or I've heard in like businesses, and other companies like are just around like how do you get people to see that it's actually to their advantage to do these things. It's not just it's not just a nice to have or like a fluffy kind of HRE type thing. It's actually key to your business success as well. So that like and being able to verbalize that and is so important, like and it's you've got you're giving me chills, Jan, with all your with all your rhetoric. It's great.
Well,
So thank you very much.
leadership.
That's it.
Yeah.
So our next person, we've already spoken about Roisin, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it. So my next person is our finalist is Anne-Marie O'Connor from Tato Snacks. Again, big fan of Tato Snacks. So you've transformed D&I at Tato Snacks from a concept into a measurable action that impacts people every day, and that you have worked hard to make it relatable and relevant in manufacturing environments, which really has impressed the judges. Does the manufacturing setting bring its own distinct challenges, is my question for you. But hello and very welcome, Anne-Marie O'Connor.
Thank you very much, Aoife. I'm delighted to meet everybody today. My name is Anne-Marie O'Connor and I lead the People and Culture team here at Tato Snacks. And to answer your question, Aoife, I think everybody listening to everybody on the call this morning, I think every work environment has its own unique challenges. What's different to us probably is that we have colleagues that are based on the factory floor. We have colleagues based out in commercial field sales, and then we have office colleagues. So we have to find policies, procedures and initiatives to progress our D&I initiatives that really relate and are meaningful for colleagues. And I think that's where the energy comes from, is from within the company itself. For us, it's key to create that inclusive work environment, because we feel that by doing that, we're empowering our colleagues and we're also making a difference to their working life. I mean, I know I've heard various slogans, which are brilliant to hear on the call this morning. And ours is very simple. It's improving working life at Tato Snacks, and how we can do that very practically. So what we have done is we've listened to our colleagues through numerous surveys that we've held, and we've taken their feedback to help guide us in our journey through the development of various policies, initiatives as well. And some of those would relate from hire to retire. So one that is forefront of my mind at the moment is in relation to our female colleagues, which started out a very simple conversation in a feedback group and resulted in the development of a menopause support policy, menopause training and menopause champions being trained across the business, which I think is quite unique for some manufacturing sites. And what's brilliant is that it's become a normalized conversation now. People talk openly about menopause. We had our managing director talk about menopause at our commercial conference. So it's making a difference, and it's starting to have those normalized conversations where they weren't before. And in addition to that, I suppose what we want to do is make sure that we continue with the education. So we have developed programs that really were focusing on our colleagues that needed to build their own personal brand within Tato Snacks, and to build their confidence, to help them in their own development and career development to progress within the organisation. So we developed a bespoke program for that, and literally I've just come from the launch of our Women in Leadership program this morning straight to our webinar now. So that's a really proud moment for us, because that's probably about 1.5 to 2 years in the making to get to that point. And that again was developed with colleagues, for colleagues, to make those meaningful changes. So I suppose for us, what we wanted to do in terms of accountability was make sure that the behavior is correct. And that is involved, I suppose we did a lot of work around training, around awareness, but also we translated our core values into behaviors. So making sure that those core values are lived every day. And also embedded into our performance appraisal systems, our training programs for leadership and managers. So we're not just talking, this is what our expectation is and our standards are within Tato Snacks to create and continue to create that inclusive culture. So yeah, a lot of work done, a lot more to do. We've recently created a one team committee led by our colleagues. So what they will do is transfer the feedback into real actions, again, that will create initiatives and meaningful progress for our colleagues. So I hope that answers the question.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Like, because that, like, even just on the menopause alone, like, getting people to really feel that comfort in those conversations is so hard. It's hard to do actually, like in an organization. So it's really amazing that people are really kind of taken that up and have taken belonging from it. And then it just kind of sounds like you have all the tools, you know, the way sometimes our leaders can make big statements, but then there's no tools there to actually deliver those statements. But it sounds like it's so embedded in all of your processes. It's like it can't, like it's part of it now. It's part of your fabric.
Yeah,
That's amazing, Emery.
and I think that that's key for us. I mean, we have so many brilliant colleagues who work here. We don't want to lose people across the way because of life stages, and that's from hire to retire. So it's really important for us that we support our colleagues through those processes to, again, to make sure that everybody feels included. I think that that's really important to us.
Amazing. Thank you, Emery. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm going to move on to our final two. So if you remember, on Friday night, it was a brilliant night and very exciting. I very much enjoyed it. And we actually had a surprise of not one, but two winners in this category. So, and that's not half a prize each, that's two prizes, okay? Just to be clear about that. So our I'm just going to go to our first winner in this category. So who we're going to speak to next is Professor Lorraine McElrath from Mary Immaculate. Congratulations, Lorraine, on being one of our winners. You've integrated inclusion across research, policy and practice at a national level, and blew judges away with your commitment, the real impact and the vision even more for inclusive college in the future. So it's great to see you again, delighted. And also I have a question for you. So what has been the most surprising lesson about creating systemic change in higher education, and what do you believe can be achieved in 2026?
Aoife, thanks so much. And if I can thank the Irish Centre for Diversity for these awards, particularly in the current climate, and thanks to Aoife and AIB for sponsoring this award, and my very handsome co-winner, who could be on the cover of Vogue magazine. If I had known how handsome he was going to be, I would have upped my game in terms of what I wore last Friday night, but just delighted to share this award with Danny and his work. And I guess maybe just to start off, and I know I didn't mention this on Friday night, but despite political shifts to the right, this work is even more important now. And I think I like to see politics as a pendulum on a grandfather clock, that it'll always swing left and right. And we have to silence it if we really want to deepen this work. And I guess across the higher education sector, despite the political winds of change, this work is growing and it's sustaining and it's deepening. So, so this work is just vitally important. I guess what I've learned, I'm just in my role 4 years. My office is just 4 years old in Mary Immaculate College, and I will have a counterpart across every university in Ireland. So there's 17 equivalents of me, and I guess members of my team. So I think collaboration across the sector has been huge, to be honest. I think universities traditionally have been kind of competitive entities vying for the best CEO appointed students. But I think certainly within the EDI landscape, there's a real sense of sharing, collaboration, sharing of policies, sharing of advice and wisdom to make sure that the sector really tackles historic inequalities and injustices. And I love working across the sector and learning from colleagues who might be doing this work longer than I. And I guess collaboration internally as well, like this has to be a whole institutional approach. It can't be just me and my team beavering away doing EDI. So, we've tried ways to work with colleagues. We have a number of menopause champions, EDII champions. We've an LGBT plus network, we have a women's network. So we're really trying to find people where they're at in terms of their own passions that align with EDI and give them funding to create new activities, seed funding to really create a grassroots movement across the college. And people have been so generous. And I think I work in a very special college that has that historic sense of social justice, given its origins as a teacher training college back in the late 1800s. You know, people who do come to Mary Immaculate College have that sense of care and kindness, if you like. I guess the other thing I've learned is policy is so important. You can't make change without policy. If policies are in existence, you can't say no to people. So a lot of my time and that of my team is crafting new policies that relate to EDI. And I guess I have the nicest job in the world because my job is about ensuring that people flourish regardless of their identities and background, and ensuring that they have the wherewithal to thrive professionally and socially as well. So I can't underplay the importance of policy. I'm working on a new one at the moment, which is about people, male, females, and other identities coming back from carers leave, maybe 16 weeks or more. They take a break in their research trajectory, can be difficult after a few months to get back into research. So I'm trying to write a policy that will allow us to give funding to people to buy themselves out, perhaps of admin or part of their teaching, to focus on their research career, because you know research and scholarship is vitally important to higher education institutions. And yeah, that maybe that's all I should say for the moment. If I could talk on and on, you'd need to keep me on stage for 3 hours to with the PowerPoint.
And
That
I'd
that
easily listen to you. Easily. So like, because you're right, like, you know, that aspect of policy, like, while it might not be the easily. So like, because you're right, like, you know, that aspect of policy, like, why not, while it might not be the shiny kind of like, oh, look at what I did kind of thing, it's still so important and so key to everything that we do. And like especially like I don't think like there's not maybe a huge amount of similarity, but with AIB, like, you know, it's got such a massively long history, and people here tend to have worked for here for a very long time, so there can be like real challenges around moving people's mindsets. So it sounds like that's really similar, like in Mary Immaculate as well, like that you have that like kind of institutional knowledge or institutional context that you have to kind of shift forward. So that's really interesting.
And I think it's working with existing policies as well to ensure that
Yeah.
there's an EDI underpinning. And I guess we've a rigorous process then of policy development, as all universities will. You know, you write it, it's approved by management team, and then it goes out for consultation to the trade unions and to staff and other entities. And then feedback is given in, and you have to
Yeah.
update it based on that, and then it goes to governing authority who have the final say. So you know it's slow work, but it's meaningful work. I think a lot of employees don't enact policies until they're in that life course
Yeah.
situation that they
Yeah.
need the policy, and if the
Yeah.
policy is there, you know they're protected and they're scaffolded.
Yeah.
So you know a lot of people will say, oh, policy, it sits on a shelf. But no, actually it is enacted, and it just depends on your own individual life course experience and
Yeah.
drawing from that policy at that particular time.
And it enables consistency as well, because you know we all know we can have different leaders, and one leader might be really brilliant in a certain area, and then you might have another leader who maybe isn't in the same mindset like around that kind of stuff. So having policy is really key to enable that consistency in your organization. So I take it back, policy is sexy. You heard it here first. We're bringing it back in 2026 as sexy subject policy. Thank you so much, Lorraine. That was really, really interesting. Delighted and congratulations again on your win. It's really delighted to hear about all of the things that you're doing. So interesting. Um, okay, I'm going to move us on, if that's okay, to our very last person. And this again is one of our winners, and it is Danny P.O. Murphy of DBFL Consulting Engineers. So congratulations. Hello, Danny, and congratulations on your win in this category. The judges loved your nomination and interview. As the first openly gay director in your profession, you've combined personal authenticity with organizational change. So that sounds amazing. I can't wait to hear more about it. How has your own journey shaped the way you mentor and inspire others?
Thank you, Aoife. I'm really honored to be here today with everyone on the call. And to echo Lorraine, thank you to the judges, the Irish Centre for Diversity, and it was fabulous sharing this stage with Lorraine on Friday night. And for people that don't know, I'm Danny P.O. Murphy. I'm an Associate Director with DBFL Consulting Engineers, and I'm also the Chair of Engineers Ireland's Inclusion and Diversity Society. But before I begin, I'd like to self-describe just for accessibility. I'm a cisgender man in his mid-30s. My pronouns are he, him. I have a short beard, green eyes, and brown hair, wearing a navy blue jacket and grey jumper with very fashionable Madonna headset. And as I was saying to the finalists, just before the call, I'm really, really excited for tomorrow. It's one of the best days in the calendar. It's Galentine's Day, and I think it was Jane Fonda that said that female friendships and leadership is like a renewable source of power and inspiration. And listening to everyone today, I just think that really resonates right now with me. So you asked about my journey, how it shaped how I mentor and inspire others. And for me, it starts with lived experience and one core belief. I try to be the person I wish I had growing up. And when I talk about lived experience, I mean growing up in, again, rural conservative Ireland in the 90s and the early 2000s, when a time when the visibility, language, stigma, and there was a lot of stigma and support was very limited. There weren't many examples of people like me in leadership, in education, and in many professions. I learned early what that feels like to read a room before I speak, to weigh up how much of yourself feels safe to show, and to understand that belonging isn't automatic for everyone. Those experiences didn't make me bitter, but it just made me very aware of the quiet and the loud barriers we carry, aware of the energy it takes to fit in, and aware of how powerful it is when someone makes space instead of guarding it. I remember being in rooms where I questioned whether I belonged, where I felt different, where I wondered if success meant hiding parts of who I am. And I also remember those moments when someone said, and I said it on the night on Friday, "You belong here." Um, that sentence can change someone's confidence, their career, and sometimes even the course of their life. So now, in every role that I hold, as an engineer, as a leader, as a mentor, that awareness shapes how I lead. I listen first, I notice who's not speaking, I make spaces for others, and I try to remove barriers, not just motivate people to push through them. I try to be that person I wish I had growing up, someone who makes spaces safer, wider, and more welcoming for others. But personal leadership isn't enough on its own. If inclusion really only if inclusion only lives in individual kindness, it disappears when a person changes roles. So the real shift in my journey was learning this. Inclusion has to move with intention to structure and sustainable systems. Uh, that's what I've tried to focus on in my job, embedding EDI into policies, recruitment, leadership development, how we design projects, and how our professional bodies operate. At DBFL, that meant co-designing an EDI action plan and helping guide the organization over the last 5 years, transforming it from a bronze to a gold investors in diversity accreditation. It meant embedding EDI into our recruitment, training, monitoring, and accountability, and even how we design infrastructure and the built environment for Irish society. Inclusion isn't an add-on to us, it's part of our engineering process. And within Engineers Ireland, it meant helping establish, and now for me, chairing the Inclusion and Diversity Society, helping introduce and advocate EDI events, systems, structures, policies, data monitoring across the membership and the governance structures, which influences 30,000 members and impacts over 75,000 engineers nationwide. It meant advocating for EDI to be embedded within the chartership process, so fairness can be built into how engineers progress through their career. A personal highlight was last year when we organised the very first in-person Pride event in Engineers Ireland's 190-year history. And it was even more meaningful through the collaboration of engineering LGBTQ plus networks across the profession. And with the Association of Consulting Engineers of Ireland, which I also input, it meant advising on strategy and helping integrate EDI policies into their governance, their professional standards, and collaborating across 120 member firms, which employs over 5,000 professionals. Because cultural change doesn't happen through posters or events. It happens when systems start to work for people, not just expect people to work around them. And the bigger picture of things is inclusion doesn't stop with our organizations. Us as engineers, our responsibilities go way beyond our teams and our organizations. The structures and spaces we designed must serve everyone equitably. We often talk about engineering as problem solving, but the challenges we face today are bigger than any one person, any one company, and industry. Engineering is at the forefront of addressing the housing crisis, tackling climate change, protecting biodiversity, and leading transition to a more sustainable world. These issues demand diverse perspectives, innovative thinking, and inclusive collaboration. To meet them head on, we need everyone at the table across genders, backgrounds, and experiences. EDI isn't a social responsibility, it's a necessity for the future of engineering and defining the social challenges of our time. And just to end, if there's one thing from my journey that has taught me, it's this: the most important question a leader can ask is not how can we get more out of people, it's what might people achieve if they're truly felt they belonged. Because when people belong, they don't just perform, they lead, they innovate, and they lift others with them. And again, I'd like to thank everyone on the call and everyone in EDI for their work and for being part of this big collective initiative of building inclusive workplaces and professions. And it's a credit to everyone and the movement behind it. So thank you. And yeah, have a good morning, everyone.
Thank you so much, Danny. Just listening to you, it makes me think about the future and, that we are, with everything kind of going on in the world at the moment, sometimes it can seem like there is not a huge amount of hope in the world, but like hearing kind of things like what you're talking about, and actually from all of the people that we've heard from this morning, there is hope for the future. There are people that are now looking up to people like Danny in their organization, going, I can do it and I can be it, and that is a really inspiring thing and not a small thing either. So congratulations to you, Danny. Congratulations, Lorraine, and to all of our shortlistees. I'm delighted to have met you this morning. I'm similar to echo what Danny said. Like, I feel set up for my day. I am ready to go for the rest of the day just from speaking to you all. So thank you so much for your insights and for your candor as well. I also wanted to just say thank you to the Irish Centre for Diversity, to Ciara, to Andrew, to Caroline and Laura and everyone who works there. Last Friday night was a fantastic night. The room was filled with passion. I was delighted to be there. I'm already counting down to next year. Can't wait again. So thank you so much for the opportunity around this. And with that, I have a great day, everybody. Happy Galentine's Day tomorrow. Thank you, Danny, for that one. And then back to you, Andrew.
Okay, thank you very much, Aoife. Thank you to all of you for a great session. We've got a little bit more time, so I'm going to indulge myself and just go through some of the many notes that I took, because there was so much sharing there. And thank you very much to all of our panelists for being so open and letting us, giving an insight into the work that they do. So the takeaways that I came out from my many notes are the power of collaboration. We always at the Irish Centre Diversity, we always say, it's so important to, don't feel you have to boil the ocean yourself. Yeah, Jean's right. Yeah, let's boil the ocean every day, but do it with the help of experts. And I think it was Anna Marie, you mentioned that, the power of of collaboration, and how this is one area where there's no competition, where people are keen to share their expertise and share their learning, share their policies, and all the other things that make the work that you do easier. So collaboration is key, and I love that was coming out as a common theme through all of the different panelists. Also, what came clear was the power of leadership. I think you all mentioned how important it is to have leadership on board in the journey, in the job that you do, in the work, in the challenges that you face, in everything that you need to do, providing tools, providing resources, all the other stuff that makes the job easier, makes progress easier, I would say. Also, it was so not enlightening, but so wonderful to hear, so heartwarming to hear how you all focused on not just your own internal work, but also you're aware of the external impacts that it has and the value of that. The ripples of not just dealing with your own silo of your own organization, but looking outside as leaders and thinking, okay, what can I do? What can our organization do externally? And the ripples that has to the local community, to all the different stakeholders that you interact with. So that was great. And, with people like Lorraine and Soraya working in education and training, the work that you do, huge ripples, because you are shaping our future. So and equipping everybody with that whole D&I mindset of inclusivity and belonging and making sure everybody has a voice and advocating. Also, I mentioned advocating there, but Danny, you made you mentioned who is, you advocate for, you look out for, who's not speaking, and giving a voice to others, which is something that Jeanne does in bucket loads, kicking down doors when they're not open, and boiling the ocean every day. So advocacy, so important. And Jeanne, you do amazing work in, and something that I've always admired, and I know that my colleagues at the Irish Centre Diversity admire the way that you provide that bridge between the commercial world, who want to do right, move beyond compliance, but just aren't sure how to do it and aren't sure that aren't sure how to do it in a voice that is not going to alienate. So you're a great advocate for just getting out there and getting it done. So congratulations to you for that. Also, I think it was Anna Maria again who mentioned that policies don't sit on shelves. You know, you have to get out there, you have to re-examine them, and you have to make sure that your policies are always evolving and always relevant to your workforce and to your colleagues. The menopause work that you're doing really emphasize that. You know, you went from an area where menopause wasn't spoken of to you really developed that trust and that equipping people with the language to make sure to ensure that menopause is now talked about, you know, as an essential conversation, talked about with any stigma, and it's kind of open and then built into policies. So fantastic on that. And then another common theme that came out that I picked up on was the importance of belonging. I love that we've moved on from just talking about diversity and inclusion or equity to belonging, and how that is kind of the next step. And at the Irish Centre for Diversity, we've taken it a step further, and you can join us in our journey with that. We've taken it further to Freddie, which is, sorry, excuse me, fairness, respect, equity, uh, diversity, inclusion, and engagement. Because if you don't engage everybody, then how, you know, how you're missing out on the bigger picture. So it's great to see that we're moving beyond just diversity and inclusion to the whole bigger picture. So those are a few of my key takeaways, and thank you for bearing with me and sticking around to the end to hear my take on it. I'm sure that the people watching this and yourselves and will have your own notes, but as I must say, the recording will be available shortly, so you're welcome to go back and listen in detail and rewind and really drill down into all the sharing that's happened today. So without further ado from me, I'm just left with my thank yous for today. So I would like to thank our panelists, number one, our winners, our finalists, and Aoife, our sponsor, for hosting a wonderful session. Thank you to Kira for sorting out everything in the background, and I must thank people watching for joining this and hearing about all the great work that's being done. As I said, the recording will be available on the Irish Centre for Diversity website, and that's where you can also register for any of the other upcoming sessions in the webinar series. And that's it from me. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day.